All right, turn off your TVs, turn off your video games, turn off all that nonsense, everything that takes time away from you and God, anything that takes time away from having a relationship with God. My wife always says, God is a jealous God. He wants a relationship with you and with you only. God is a God of freedom. God gave us free will. God gave Adam and Eve free will, but they decided to break that law. He said, you can eat from all of these trees. You cannot eat from one tree, because then you will know good and evil. You will define good and evil, basically becoming God, and that's what God didn't want. And the problem nowadays is that people want to be God. People want to be their own God. They want to have autonomy. Autonomy is one law. It means autonomos. It's one law in the Greek. And so the way things are going nowadays, people, they make up their own gods, they make up their own laws, they make up their own way of living, they make up everything. They live as they want. They're atheists, non-theists, pantheists. They serve many gods. They live the way that they want. They have no respect for the law. They have no respect for the moral laws. They have no respect for the moral lawgiver, which is God himself. And so therefore they live the way that they want, and they think that there's going to be a different outcome. Like I teach my kids every day, I say, you have free will. You have the decision to make the choices that you want and live the way that you want. But what you don't have power of is power over those consequences. The decisions you make and the choices you make, there's going to be consequences, bad and good. My mother always taught me that whatever I sow, I will reap. I cannot expect to reap apples on a tree of potatoes, or vice versa. It just doesn't happen. So if I've been sowing evil, if I've been sowing, just nasty things, that's what I'm gonna reap. And so going back to the law and the moral law and the moral lawgiver, the law of gravity. If you jump off a plane and you sabotage the law and you say, well, I'm gonna break the law of gravity, nothing can happen. The law is gonna catch up to you, because truth is exclusive. When something is true, everything else that says the opposite is untrue. So if somebody breaks the law of gravity, it's going to catch up to them. They're going to fall, they're going to die, because that's the law of gravity, whether they want it or not, whether they believe it or not. It's true that gravity is gravity. That is the law. If you jump from an airplane, you're going to fall, right? That's the gravity. That's how it works. It'll catch up to you. So saying that God doesn't exist does not exclude you from going to hell, does not exclude you from having the consequences of going to hell. It doesn't exclude you, and it doesn't say just because you don't think there's a God that you're going to get away with it. I heard once that the biggest mistake is that one day believing, it's okay if you believe that there's a God and you do it all and you live life happy and joyful, believing there's a God, and come to find out there isn't. You haven't lost a thing. But how tragic the day that you live, as when you live as an atheist and you don't believe there's a God, and you come to find out that there is a God. How tragic would that be? Now you have no chance of going back. You've lost anything. But if you live as if there's a God and you come to find out there isn't, you have lost nothing. And we all heard that nothing is that which rocks dream about. And so that's what we got to do. We got to live our lives for Christ. We got to imitate Christ, and we got to follow in his footsteps. We got to be examples for the generation to come. If you have children, you got to be an example for your children, for your siblings, for whoever it is. whatever it takes, you got to do it and you got to make it happen, because whether you want it or not, you are an example. You are a role model for somebody in your life, whether you like it or not, whether you see it or not. Somebody's looking at you and they're following your lifestyle, they're following your ways, they're following in your footsteps. And that might be your kids, that might be people who look up to you wherever you are, at work or at school. People look up to you. These rappers, they say, well, I didn't ask to be a role model. Well, but you're in a place where you are a role model and people look up to you. And so you can't be a drug dealer and you can't talk about killing. You can't talk about crack and heroin and say, well, I just talk about that stuff, you know, and the fact that people follow me is not my problem. Yes, it is your problem. It is your problem. You are saying these things and people are going to do what you say because they look up to you. So we have to be good examples. We have to be role models. We think that kids don't see anything, but they see everything. They see everything. And so we need to give our lives to God. We need to live life side by side with the Lord in the middle as a centerpiece, because if He's not the centerpiece, then we have nothing. You know, if we don't live our life around God, giving Him everything we got, giving Him all of our worries, giving Him all of our everything. It doesn't mean give a little bit and take some back. We have to give up everything. God is a jealous God, and we have to remember that. All right? Live your life for God to the fullest. In Jesus' name, I pray that you guys hear this message and you take it to heart, that the seeds planted in your heart may grow and grow in Jesus' name.